I mean, you had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vogt.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 196. Ooh, that sounds nice. I like it. Let's do it. Anyway, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callahan, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
I feel a sense of weight being lifted off our shoulders here at MinneZona Sports Live because of the fact $140 million going right towards the bank account of course, Justin Jefferson. 110 million guaranteed. And now we can focus on going out there and playing football, do something completely dumb this year, maybe even win a Super Bowl. But hey, you know what? Money well invested for sure.
Why not us, right?
Uh-huh.
Why not us, Shield? Yes, that is on the docket tonight. And obviously, Voldy, it feels good to be right, doesn't it?
So good.
Doesn't it feel so good to be right? All those naysayers, all those people saying, they're going to trade him, they're going to get picks, and he's going to Kansas City, he's going here. He ain't going nowhere. He's staying right here. And we start off with that tonight for Tater Tot Hot Take, JJ's new deal. So we will be talking about that. We can't wait. After that, we'll be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost their series versus the Mavericks, unfortunately. We'll talk about that. There's some positive, obviously negative, but we'll talk about it. Tonight, an emergency. Callahan School of Logic. Even though I kind of was poking the bear a little bit, but I will explain that. That is a message to the Aints fans. And I want to tell the Zoners right now, Voldy, that I, in fact, am not doing the 2009 NFC Championship game as a whole. It's just a little part to it. That's all I'm going with. And we proved a lot of Aints fans wrong on the Twitter sphere. So that's all I really need to say at that point. So we got that going for us for Callahan School of Logic. Then ARA, we've got a stacked ARA this week. I'm telling you, we've had some stacked ones, but this one definitely takes the cake. Gablestevenson, not with the WWE anymore. No, he's in the NFL. He's trying out for the Buffalobills, so we'll talk about that. Another thing that has to be addressed too is the NBA Finals. We'll be talking about the Boston Celtics, the Dallas Mavericks. I wish it was the Wolves, but that's where we're at. And the Stanley Cup Final is happening too. The Edmonton Oilers, Voldy, and the Florida Panthers. We all know how you feel about Florida. We'll be giving our thoughts on that shortly. So jjredick probably going to be the Lakers coach, ? And the WNBA targeting Caitlinclark, players, to stuff like that. We're going to have to chat about that too. Great Shield shoutouts tonight as well. So, Voldy, I say we get right to it with our guy, Justin Jefferson. So let's get it going with Tater Tot. Whoa, hot take, baby. Let's go. If I can find it. There it is.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
I was just so excited to talk about the new deal that I just forgot where it was. I mean, the intro of Tater Tot Hot Take. But that's okay. Let's talk about it. Voldy, the Minnesota Vikings, if you missed the beginning of the show here, the Minnesota Vikings have signed Justin Jefferson to a 4-year extension worth $110 million guaranteed. $140 million contract extension in general. Voldy, we said this right at the beginning here. We said it feels good to be right. It feels great to be right. And if you looked on the socials media zoners, I had that video of me saying the Vikings are going to get a deal done with Justin Jefferson. And guess what? It happened. Justin Jefferson is a Minnesota Viking for 5 more years, technically, because he's still got that 1 year option, so technically that's what we got with that. Now, a lot of people have been very positive about it. They think it's a great, it's a great deal, not only for the Minnesota Vikings, but Justin Jefferson as well. Voldy, what are your thoughts right now? And I mean, how are we looking towards the future here with JJ? Or excuse me, not JJ anymore, Jets. How are we feeling about Jets?
I mean, it feels great to have that taken care of, locked up, and just put in the rear view mirror right now, because that was the big question. One of 2 big questions this offseason. One, obviously, being what are we going to do with Kirk Cousins? Well, he left, even though technically we could still get him back through the NFL tampering situation. That's a different story for a different time as well. That's in an ideal world. And also, what are we going to do with Justin Jefferson as well? What are we going to do with that contract? Are we going to give him the money? Are we going to give Kirk the money? Are we going to split it 50-50? Who's really worth the future? And we put all our chips into one basket here with Justin Jefferson and getting him that contract. Because we've been talking about, too, on the show, in our group chat, off air as well. They've got the cap space starting next year to work with, finally. Yeah. And it works out really well here because of the fact that the success that has happened for Jefferson with Kirk Cousins, without Kirk Cousins, when healthy, when hobbling on one leg, it continues to build for this burgeoning career that he does have. And just getting that all solidified before training camp especially, that's huge. Now at OTAs, really starting to get in gel with the chemistry, with Sam Darnold, with J.J. McCarthy. What's the quarterback situation? We've got the offensive weapons. We've got guys looking at to make big strides this year with some guys that are going to be coming back from injury or guys that left through free agency. There's plenty of guys on this team that could definitely make the step up. We already know that Justin Jefferson is going to be number 1 at the top of the list. Now that he's happy with the money, we're focused on what we can do here for the future. I say things are looking pretty good right now.
I 100% agree. And now he is officially the face of the Minnesota Vikings franchise right now. With this deal, it solidifies it with no Kirk chains anymore, like we mentioned. I think this kind of solidifies where this team is going and where they want to go, for that matter. And another thing to be brought up here, the good news is that he is in his prime. He's 24 years old. You add the 4-year extension with that. But this was a no-brainer. And we know that we said it multiple times. This was a no-brainer. And what's something that stands out to me, especially from this article by Kevin Seifert, who has done a great job as the Vikings writer here for ESPN, he said he's averaging 6.5 catches per game, is the second highest of any receiver in his first 4 seasons. So that's elite. And his average of 98.3 yards per game is still the highest in NFL history for any career span. That's Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. I mean, right now you look at it, the traction it's all the way up. You're going all the way up to Canton if you keep it up like that. 4 straight seasons of 1,000-yard receiving yard, or 1,000 receiving yards per season. Excuse me. Yeah. Anyway, this is a great deal. We can't ignore the fact that he is going to be the big leader of this group, and there's still a good chunk of leaders on this team. You got Brian O'Neill. You have guys like T.J. Hawkinson, who's been around the block. You have guys that have been in this. Oh, by the way, Harrison Smith. Don't forget him, the hitman. So when you pair him with that, and they know what they have with their leadership, and I watched the press conference of Justin Jefferson, and the one thing I was impressed with is that he not once mentioned like, oh, I wanted this amount of money and this and that and this. He was thinking all of like his family, the Vikings, his agent, all that. Voldy, in this time period, I feel like a lot of wide receivers, and the zoners can chime in on this too, a lot of wide receivers, when they want new deals, they unfollow the team. Or they send cryptic tweets. Stephon Diggs. And they try to make a statement. And Justin Jefferson didn't do any of that. He pretty much said, let's let the process go and see where it takes us. And the Vikings were there every step of the way. They wanted to get him his money. And there was a broadcast, I don't even know the guy's name. Some guy out of New York. I sent this link to you too, Voldy.
Yeah, Carton. He was with the Boomer and Carton back in the day, but I forget his first name, but I know the guy. Yeah, he used to be on ESPN, I think.
Well, there's a reason why no one takes him seriously, because clearly he thinks that the Minnesota Vikings are going to trade Justin Jefferson before Thanksgiving.
Trash.
Well, they got a rookie QB. He turned down $30 million and this and that. Like, because he knew he would probably get more the next season. The cap, listen, the cap is going up, 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 up. The reason why he probably declined it is because he wanted more, because he knows what he's worth. The Vikings know what he's worth. Did you see Justin Jefferson pout and cry about it during this season? He didn't do any of that.
No.
Oh, he had 1,000 yards, and he was out. Yeah, he was out 7 games. But, by the way, he was actually doing quite well, getting over 1,000 yards on the season again. So, for the people that think that it's just, anytime there's a contract coming up and they need an extension and everything like that, it's like, trade him. Trade them. Yep. Get what you can. Get the draft picks. We got to think of the future. We got to think of the future. 10, 15, 20 years until then. And then 2 years later, they find out what a big mistake they made. The Minnesota Vikings knew what they were doing. And the good news is that Justin Jefferson, there were no talks, and Kevin O'Connell said that they had no intention to trade Justin Jefferson. Adam Schefter reported to Voldy that the Vikings received calls, but they told them, nope, not happening. They pretty much hung up and said, not happening. So this was going to get done. And for the people that thought it wouldn't get done, I'm sorry. Like I said in the social media video, you're idiots. You're idiots. I'm sorry. I hate to do that to you, but it's true. It's very true. So this deal is looking nice. Voldy, one more thing before we move on to our next thing here. But now that Jefferson is signed, he's extended, and you have Sam Darnold at QB, and that didn't affect much because, shoot, if he was unhappy that they had Sam Darnold, so that's another reason. But Sam Darnold, you have him as your quarterback, and you're going to try to get J.J. McCarthy up to speed. His first time in the NFL. And eventually that will happen. How do you see the dynamic of Darnold and Justin Jefferson working out? JJ's, I think it was his second day of practice today since he's gotten back. And, I mean, he's in shape. They said he's in shape. He's good to go and everything. But how do you see that dynamic working between the connection between Darnold and JJ?
I think really it comes down to the fact that Sam Darnold's career, he has had zero help offensively with any receiving core of any kind. He has been able to work with what he's got. I mean, I can't name a receiver that had predominant play when he was in New York. I can't name a receiver who was worth anything. Maybe Robbie Anderson or whatever he chooses to go by nowadays as well. Sure. That's the only guy that I can really think of. Even he was not even 50-50. It was 75-25 at the very best of like maybe to not so much.
Right.
But beyond that, I mean, just having a receiver that can go and get the ball, as long as he can go out and, for lack of a better phrase, be a game manager, get the ball into the receiver's hands, make sure they don't get killed, establish the run, move the ball down the field, score points, I think he'll do just fine. If he can do that, that is certainly something that will be a feather in his cap, besides the fact that he has had a very rough 5-6 years in the league.
Like that,
yeah, something like that. I mean, not even since his USC days has he had a good enough receiver to say, okay, worst comes to worst, I've got this number one, I've got a tight end, I've got 2 or 3 guys that I can get the ball into their hands to at least go make a play, instead of me trying to force something to a no-name, lack of talent receiver or whoever and try to win this game myself. Basically, he has weapons around him to make the game manageable and obviously score points as well. So that's definitely going to be something, that dynamic, I think if you establish that early, there's some good things that can happen here this season.
I think that's a good point. And also, you do have an offensive line that is a little bit retooled. You add back Dalton Reisner, even though right now Blake Brandel is the starting left guard at this point right now. That could change, but there's a lot to consider with Reisner coming back. It's going to be a position battle nonetheless. So that will be a interesting thing going into training camp and whatnot. But the dynamic between Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson, it's been proven. And Voldy and Zoners, we worked with Josh Dobbs. We worked with Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, which didn't really work out very well. But Justin Jefferson can work with almost any quarterback. I mean, it's something like a DeAndre Hopkins type of deal where he barely had anybody until was it Deshaun Watson, Massage Boy, came down to Houston. So that's kind of the one thing that you got to consider here too, is that he's a guy that he can be relied on. And guess what? You add more weapons, like we've said, and I don't need to go through them because you already know them. So we'll go with that. But the dynamic between those two is like, just don't do anything stupid to the point of what Nick Mullins does. Just throwing up there when he's quadruple covered or triple covered, for that matter, and praying he comes down with it. Let's be honest. We love JJ and he's amazing, but quadruple's tough. You can't get away with that. So I think the dynamic between Darnold and Jefferson will be just fine, and especially once J.J. McCarthy comes in. And again, we don't know if J.J. McCarthy is going to play at all this 2024 because, again, Darnold could do well. I'm just throwing that out there. So that's something to keep track of, and once we get closer to the football season, we will have more analysis with that. So it's finally out of the way. I keep saying JJ, gosh darn it. Jets is still a Viking. That's what we want. And no, he is not being traded after him signing an extension. It's just, I'm not going down that road.
Any small coincidence as well, after the extension was announced, that the Vikings also announced that they are going to be getting new winter whiteout uniforms that are going to be debuted on Friday?
Oh, boy. I like that.
Sports are rigged.
That's a good point.
The script writers are working overtime on this one.
That's true.
Sports are rigged!
I should have done this. I promised myself I would do this, but that $110 million guaranteed, this
Straight cash, homie.
straight cash, homie. Let's get it rolling. So, all right, we will keep an eye on everything Vikings as the days go on. Let's finish the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've talked a lot about the Timberwolves these past few months.
Uncomfortably amount of Timberwolves talk this year, at least from my end.
Yeah, and that's and the thing is, they've earned it. You know, they've earned it, and unfortunately, the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 4-1 in the series. Game 5 was pretty much a blowout. There was really no urgency from the Timberwolves, and Doncic went off over 30 points. Kyrie went off over 30 points. The Wolves couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. So we got that going for us. But it was kind of disappointing because, again, they put in all that work. They had that great series against the Nuggets. They sweep the Suns. And you lay an egg on your home floor and not really giving much fight after that. And Chuck said it best, Voldy. They're just happy that they didn't get swept. And I think that was the mindset. I thought their mindset was like, hey, we can do this. Like, we can come back. We can win and, go from there. And I was believing that too. But after that first quarter, I thought, they don't have it. They obviously don't have it. So, Voldy, your quick thoughts on the series versus the Mavs and going into the offseason, what are your thoughts?
It's unfortunate. It was a lot of death by 1,000 cuts in that series, honestly. I mean, the fact that they were able to get a win, too, that was nice, at least in Game 4, to push things in that direction. But, man, when a team is hot and they are rolling with little to nothing to lose and little to nothing to show for it, that's hard to stop because the hottest team in the playoffs is going to be a team that's going to be competing for a title. And you'd like to have thought it was going to be the Timberwolves, but, I mean, Dallas was just a different monster to begin with. We're seeing Kyrie playing like he did back in 2016. Luka, for as beat up as he is shouldering the burden as well. And beyond that, I mean, they've got a lot of role guys that have really stepped up that have came to play in that series and really forced their will, especially in Game 5. It's just unfortunate to see. Looking now towards the offseason, there's still a few questions out there. I mean, what are we going to do with Cat? Is he sticking around another year? Do we try and trade him for some draft capital, maybe a couple other guys? What's Mike Conley going to be doing here this offseason if he's going to try and gut it out for season number 18 in his career? We've got some bench guys that could certainly be starters in other teams. Do they want to stay? Do they want to take a pay cut? Do they want to look out and venture something differently? What is LeBron's legacy looking like this offseason, too? Does he want to come to Minnesota? I don't know. There's a lot going on, but I'm just glad to see for once an offseason isn't going to really be marred by what's going on in the front office compared to seasons past. We know we've got a coach. We've got, some solidification in that area. And also the front office, besides the whole ownership thing, that's a different story altogether. But at least there are some questions on the court that need to be answered, as opposed to what are we doing off the court.
Right. And again, I'll say that the Timberwolves really didn't have an answer for Kyrie and Luka. At any point, I felt like, and everyone was saying, like, Luka's not playing defense. We need to attack him from that angle, tire him out, and then he might, he'll be missing some shots, and you didn't tire him out. You just pretty much pissed him off, and he had like 20 points in the first quarter, which is insane, by the way. But I almost think that if they did what we were thinking, and again, I'm no basketball aficionado, I'm no NBA head coach or coach at all, but I mean, isn't that something you would want to exploit? And the silly fouls that Cat had, that Rudy had, granted, a lot of those fouls were kind of BS, but that gets factored in too. So the whole series just felt like domination from Luka and Kyrie, and Luka complains about every call. We talked about it last week, and he's kind of a baby, but the thing is, he is very good. He's a very good shooter. He's a very good basketball player on the offensive side. Defensive side's a whole different beast, that's for sure. But again, they got the job done, and the Wolves just kind of let them just beat them at their home court, and that's just that's the sad part about it. But there's a lot of youth on this team, Voldy. There is a lot of guys that are 22, 23, 24. Cat's still only like 28. So this team, the oldest guy is obviously Mike Conley, and he's got 2 more years left on his deal. So hopefully he'll stick with us until then. And I think that is going to be interesting in the offseason is, okay, do we dip into the luxury tax? Do we trade a couple guys just to get – I don't know how younger you can get on the Minnesota Timberwolves, but again, they've got really solid players, and they're up there with the best teams, and we can't forget that. Anthony Edwards had a Instagram post saying that, quote, "We'll be back next year. Just keep pulling up, and we're gonna put on a show next year." That's great. And he even said in his press conference after Game 5, he said that they didn't expect to be at this point of the Western Conference Finals. They didn't realize that. And when I heard that, I was kind of like, yeah, that would make sense. But there's a lot of talent on this team nonetheless. And Ant's still only 22 and whatnot. But he took that massive leap, and that's what we want to see. So it'll be interesting this offseason, because we don't know if they're going to trade. We don't know if they're going to, do anything to kind of, do what they need to do on the court, because Cat was cold in this series against the Mavs. Yeah. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was really cold too. Jaden McDaniels, offensively, his defense is always good, but he gets a little handsy with the fouls sometimes and whatnot. But I think that if they're able to maybe get an extra role player, get a veteran in there to kind of coincide with this team, I say do it. And Tim Conley staying, another year helps this team for the future, because I think he really does want to be here. It's just the whole ownership thing. That's for a whole nother conversation. Glenn Taylor, A-Rod, and Mark Lowry. So I'm kind of at this point where I don't know what will happen. I don't think they're going to trade away anybody unless they get a really good deal for Cat. But then again, who's going to want him? Who's going to be willing to give up a lot to get Karl Anthony Towns? But I think Cat will probably be a Wolf next year, and that's just kind of my opinion. And I kind of hope that it is, because he's still learning somewhat. I know he's going to be going in his 10th year. I get that, but now that he's had that playoff experience going to the Western Conference Finals, we got something going on here. So we'll see, and any big news with the Wolves, we will bring it up here on MinneZona Sports Live. So, we will have a lot to talk about, I would say. Right now, Voldy, I just got an update. Minnesota Twins down 8-0, 5th inning against the Yankees.
Whoa.
If you walk into the Yankee Stadium and you're the Twins and you say, "Oh no, we got to play the Yankees," and you walk in and have that self-doubt, you've already lost. You've already lost. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't care what Rocco Baldelli says after this game. This is BS. Figure it out.
Trash.
I don't want to get into it because I'm about to get into it with Callahan School of Logic. So tonight, Zoners, Voldy, there was an exchange that I had with some Aints fans yesterday. And again, I will say I was kind of poking the bear a little bit. But again, the fact still remains. We all know what happened in the NFC Championship game. We all know the bountygate scandal and everything along those lines. But I want to set some of these Ain't fans straight here. And since we have this platform, we might as well talk about it because this is not full 2009 NFC Championship game rant or anything like that. This is kind of a piece of it, a small piece, if you will. So we're saving the other stuff for a future show, which probably be like episode 500 or something. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So tonight, I will explain the whole exchange, and then I will explain how wrong they were in their analysis with the Bountygate scandal. So, with that being said, let's come on into the classroom, sit on down, get those notebooks, pens, pencils out. It's time for Callahan School of Logic.
Class is in session. You're enrolled in Callahan's School of Logic.
All right, it is time for Callahan School of Logic. Take a seat. Get those pens. Get those pencils, especially you Aints fans. I'm about to teach you something. So, let's get right into it. Voldy, I had that exchange with these Aints fans. Let's start from the beginning. I was on the old X app, formerly known as Twitter, and I decided I chose violence on the social media platform. Jason McCourty tweeted, do you even say tweeted after with X now? Like, what do you call it? Is it a post?
Posted?
We'll just go post. Yeah. So Jason McCourty posted late night workout and football. Adrian Peterson having a convo with Eric Bieniemy after scoring a TD. Who remembers this game, and can you name a player in this game that's still in the league? Again, a very harmless type of tweet. Like, I don't have any ill will towards Jason McCourty whatsoever. But when I saw that, it was from the NFC Championship game versus the Aints. And we all know the ordeal there. AP, in the video, AP scores the touchdown. And the guy who's actually still in the league right now, Voldy, is Thomas Morstead.
Oh, nice.
That's kind of a cool thing. And again, I've got no beef towards him whatsoever. I don't have any issue, and I apologize to Jason McCourty for getting into his replies. I really do. I apologize for doing that and whatnot. So what I said, for people that don't know, I said, don't care, period, cheaters, period, hashtag never forget. And I had the photo of the, obviously, Bounty, paper towels, all that stuff. It says Bounty, you have the Aints logo, and there you go, Bountygate. So I knew I was kind of poking the bear and kicking the hornet's nest, whatever you want to call it. I'm asking for trouble, but here's something that a lot of these Aints fans don't really understand. They don't have any merit to their comebacks at me. And I expected them to respond, but The reasons and comebacks, to me, aren't, one, anything new, two, grasping at straws. And what do I mean by that? Is that they're trying to find something that's not there, right? So, again, Aints fans are going to bring up, well, what about the turnovers you guys had? You guys had 5 turnovers. A lot of the key one was the Favre right across the body, picked off by Tracy Porter. We don't need to go any further than that. But they seem to forget that in overtime, and this is for later with the 09 championship game, that there were a lot of missed calls, and I do have video of those missed calls in that game, and that was the worst. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was bad. I can't get too into it here, but they brought up they bring up the turnovers, and yes, the Vikings screwed up. Okay, AP fumbles, Harvin fumbles. I think Bernard Berrien fumbled in that game. We get that. But the fact still remains, Voldy, that they tried to end Brett Favre's career in that game. They high-load him. They hit him after the whistle. Not a lot of penalties were thrown after that. There were some that were thrown for those hits, but no ejection, nothing. Now, you have that. And we find out bountygate later on. That means you are cheating. You are doing something that you shouldn't do. You are paying players, and you blame Greg freaking Williams for setting this up. You have the players that were involved, putting it in a pot and, trying to take him out, trying to take Frank Gore out. You have Greg Williams on audio talking about ripping Frank Gore's head off and giving a money sign with that. You don't have any proof of the Vikings having a team that has bountygate. Now, they're like, well, the Vikings had a bounty program too. They revert back to a Deadspin article featuring former Viking Artishicks, who, again, will be brought up in a second here because he said some things in that article that, A, weren't proven true, and B, guess what? He retracted his statement. So let's go over it for these Aints fans, because clearly they think Deadspin is a credible source, which we'll get into in a second. He said this: "It was part of the culture. I had coaches start a pot and all the veterans put in an extra 100, 200, and if you hurt someone special, you get the money. There was a bottom line, and I think we all bought in. You're there to win, and if you're taking out the other team's best player, helps you win. Hey, it's just business." So he goes on to say that they were targeting Nick Barnett of the Green Bay Packers, and the price was $500 to take him out. According to him, that was in 2008. It didn't change in 2009, is what he's saying here. Anthony Hargrove, who has been labeled the villain of Bountygate, says it wasn't a bounty where you name one guy and offer money for him. And it was incentives for good plays, hard hits, changing the game. We all put in, and maybe you could get 100, 200, 500. That's what it was. First of all, from this article, and this is Deadspin now. Don't forget that. This is a Deadspin article. They always revert back to this. Well, the Vikings had one too. Where's your proof? Do you see anybody talking about the Vikings having a bounty program? This is just coming from a guy who, again, doesn't even say the Vikings by name in this quote at all. Zero. But he's referring to it saying, oh, it happened in 2008 and then 2009. And you're probably like, well, you just said that he mentions the Vikings in 2008, stuff like that. You just wait 1 second, because I'm getting right back to it here. So not only do Aints fans think that they are giving a credible source? They think this is a credible source. Like, they had a bounty program too. They all did. Well, how about this, Voldy? This is from Deadspin. This is actually not too long ago, which is interesting to me. This was February, I believe. Yeah, it was about February here. And Deadspin, sold by parent company, employees laid off with half hour's notice. Deadspin's apparently a credible place to put out stuff and everything like that. So, if you really sit back and think about this, and the article from the original article from where the Aints fans are getting this is from 2016, and they're still using it. See, they had a bounty program too. Well, they obviously didn't do their research. And what happens now, Voldy? Artist Hicks now says he never mentioned bounty program. He retracts his statement. He says, actually, no, I didn't give any specifics or anything like that. So these Aints fans say Deadspin's credible, this is fine, like, that's not a problem. Clearly it's not, because Hicks says, no, I never told him any specifics. I never named names. I never said. Only thing I told him as far as specifics was I had been a part of a meeting where players were amongst ourselves as a part of a unit. We felt like the last time we played the team, they kind of did some dirty things to our running back or quarterback. When we played them again later in the year, it was, hey, when you get the chance to get this guy, dinner is on me. That was as detailed as I got. Again, it was never any specifics on what team I was with or anything like that. They've already lost this argument. And I said to, and again, this is these Twitter guys, they hide behind these profile pictures of stormtroopers from Star Wars, or they have their dog in there, which there's no problem with that if you have a dog in there. But listen, to the stormtrooper guy that says that showed and said, see, he read the headline and says weep about it or whatever. So I send him back this article of Artist Hicks saying, hey, this isn't what I said, coming from Deadspin and everything like that. They've already lost. And I said back to that stormtrooper, obviously he had fog in his helmet and didn't realize, I don't have any proof of the Vikings having a bounty program, things like that. Never gave any specifics. And there you go. That's all you have. That's all I needed. The Vikings never had a bounty program. If they did, we'd be hearing about it. And, Voldy, I don't know about you, the NFL would get involved and probably look into that. So, why hasn't they looked into that? I don't know. But what the NFL should be looking at is taking away their 2009 Super Bowl trophy. That's exactly what they should be doing. And you know why? Is because the NFL, you know why the NFL won't take it away from them? Is because the NFL wanted to see them win that Super Bowl. As opposed to the better team that day, and I'm telling you right now, the better team that day was the Minnesota Vikings. You can blame it on the fumbles and everything like that. What happened in that OT period was absolutely, positively egregious. I will be talking about that at a different time. But the logic for Aints fans is this. Accept that your team that year cheated, and actually years after that too. You cheated to win a Super Bowl, and thank everything that is holy. The NFL didn't take away your precious Super Bowl, which should have been with one Minnesota Vikings. Yes, I do believe the Vikings would have beat the Colts, and a lot of people believe that too. And lastly, get your damn facts straight. And I'm going to watch the Minneapolis Miracle again. So, I will get back to me when you guys finally have some proof and have a good argument to talk about. And I quote too, no response has been put up by
none.
that stormtrooper guy or whatever. So you take that and take it for what you will. Get back to me when you have the facts and whatnot. So that is Callahan School of Logic. Aints fans, yeah, you can F off. So we're going to go with that, with Callahan School of Logic. Voldy, your thoughts. What do you got?
I love it. I love it. I mean, one of the better rivalries, non-divisional rivalries, you keep an eye on in the schedule when the NFL comes out with the schedule. I mean, there's some other ones. You know, you get Packers, Cowboys, you get Ravens and Titans, you get Denver and, you know, New England. But everybody keeps a close eye on Saints Vikings for some reason, just because so many iconic moments have taken place in this out-of-divisional rivalry over the years as well. Minneapolis Miracle, Rudy calling game and OT down in the Bayou as well. Just stomping the Saints when AP became a New Orleans Saint as well. That one was fun too at US Bank Stadium. But just overall, just the throne of lies New Orleans Saints fans sit upon with your so-called false title that you do present year in and year out. Look, the NFL staged that Super Bowl that year because of the fact New Orleans was still reeling some years later from Hurricane Katrina. They wanted to have the ultimate feel-good story. You've got Drew Brees, you've got Sean Payton, you've got this ragtag bunch of guys. Greg Williams is out there trying to kill everybody through his puppets on the field as well, and you continue to boast that it was probably one of the better Super Bowl teams ever. Then how come you didn't go back the next year or the year after or the year after that or at any time whatsoever with Drew Brees as quarterback? You tried, you failed, you still hold on to that belief that you're a great team and a great franchise, and yet you have Derek Carr as your starting quarterback. You had Jameis Winston one point backing up. Last time I checked, you had a great coach. He cheated. He got kicked out. Then you bring in Dennis Allen as head coach. Done a somewhat decent job, has still not gotten fired. That guy was head coach of the Raiders at one point. At this point, anybody who's been in the NFL has been a head coach of the Raiders for the time that the turn of the century up until now. It's just embarrassing the fact that the Saints still consider themselves to be a premier franchise in the NFL. They are the Joe Flacco of NFL teams. They think they're all that, but like, yeah, you were good for one season, but beyond that, you haven't built on top of anything else beyond that point. They are the Joe Flacco elite of NFL teams. So that's what I think about the Saints and Saints fans overall.
Look, I'm not going to get too into it, but I will say this real quick before we move on to ARA, and then we will probably talk about this much later on when we get to 500 or wherever we decide to do this. But my message to Aints fans is this. Your team was not the better team in that game. The refs gave you that game. And what happened in Hurricane Katrina, people losing their homes, losing lives too, that is something that, yes, is absolutely terrible. And shame on the NFL for just pushing that narrative, saying like, oh, we want that team to get in there, you know, it's for the entertainment. But listen, the better team was the Minnesota Vikings that day. And the calls that were made on the field were probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in an NFL game or any other game for that matter. And Voldy, I was mad for weeks, maybe even a month for over that game because we got completely screwed. The Aints think, well, we got screwed against the Rams with the defensive pass interference. Yes, it was defensive pass interference, but guess what? Karma is a bitch. So take that for what you will. This and the Minneapolis Miracle again was perfect payback, especially against that snot-nosed little bitch Sean Payton, and even for that matter, Greg Williams, even though he wasn't the defense coordinator at the time, who, again, should be banned from the NFL for the rest of his career. He does not deserve to have an NFL job. And you know what? He doesn't deserve to have a UFL job, too. Screw that. He doesn't deserve it. So, we're going to leave it at that. Aints fans, just be happy that you have your little cheater Super Bowl. It will forever be tainted. And guess what? You are cursed forever because, yeah, you got your Super Bowl, but you cheated to get it. So that's kind of how that's how it goes. All right. That's over with. Voldy, we got us stacked. Yeah. We got a lot of cool ARAs tonight. The Bills are signing former Olympian and former WWE trainee, or is that what they? Yeah, something like that.
Sure,
we'll go with that. Stanley Cup final, Oilers versus Panthers. We'll talk about that. Celtics versus Mavs, NBA finals. JJRedick is getting really close to being the Los Angeles Lakers head coach. And the WNBA, are they targeting Caitlinclark? Are there players that are targeting her? We'll talk about that as well. So, Voldy, I say we get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, the world of the NFL is about to get an even bigger reality check as two-time national champion, three-time Big Ten wrestling champion, and two-time Dan Hodge Trophy winner and former WWE superstar, I guess you want to put in there, Minnesota native Gablestevenson will be taking his talents to the NFL as he signed a rookie 3-year deal to play defensive line for the Buffalo Bills, despite the fact of never playing football at any point in his career. He will be looking to play in the NFL straight off the wrestling mat and into an NFL training camp. Of this coming off the recent release of Stevenson from the WWE, looking for that next chapter in his career. Apparently going to forego the 2024 Paris Olympics and will be heading straight to training camp and getting an opportunity to quite possibly make an NFL roster with the Buffalo Bills, who are still in the midst of trying to break through the division and out of the AFC and into Super Bowl contention as well. Let's throw a freak athlete in every sense of the word into the mix as well, signing a deal as well that really does bring up a lot of question marks, even though he never played football at any point in his career, a la Brock Lesnar back in the day when he signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Do you think it's absurd or approved? Will Gablestevenson make the team out of training camp with the Buffalo Bills?
Oh, that is a loaded question, especially for a guy like you just said, hasn't played a down of NFL, college. Did he play high school? Maybe, sort of.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Well, they made note in the article that I'm reading here that it was the first time ever that he actually put on cleats. So I'm assuming he never played football, even Pop Warner or any kind. So yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. This is a kind of a tough one here. Oh, by the way, we have our best guest of 2023, Eric Moser, tuning in. He says, let the athlete be an athlete. Right? He can. Sure. Here's something. If he he knows it's a challenge. He knows what he has to do. The question is, what position is he going to play? He's 6'1", was it 275 or something like that? maybe a little
Yes.
bit less. I'm not sure. Do you put him at linebacker? That be around there. On offense, probably I'd probably say a running back maybe, but I don't hate the move. Here's the thing. I don't hate the move, but I don't see him making the team. So unfortunately, I have to say it's absurd. Especially it was the first time he's ever put on cleats. That tells me that he hasn't played a down of football, and he better start learning. I assume he's watched it before and probably picked up some things, but I'm telling you, the NFL is a completely different beast here, and you're gonna know pretty damn quick too. So, but again, if he wants to try it, Brock Lesnar did the same thing. Did Brock Lesnar do well? Not really,
No.
but he did have. Did I say when we did? Where are they now? Like 1 or 2, 3 tackles or something like that.
In the final preseason game.
In the
against
final
the San
preseason
Francisco
game.
49ers, yes.
So this is probably that type of situation, unless he blows everybody away with his talent. So I applaud him for giving it a try. I mean, there's no shame in giving it a try and seeing where you're at. I mean, if he really likes it enough and keeps doing it. But here's my question. What the hell happened with WWE? I mean, seriously, Voldy. Like, he was there, and he was going to be like the next big thing. He's almost like a Kurt Angle type of wrestler, which I thought he'd be extremely good at. But something happened. I don't know what happened. So I guess he's just going to go to the NFL, which is interesting. So I think it's absurd. I don't think he's going to make the team. But I give a stamp of approval, and especially from Minnesota. He's an Olympian. He's just amazing when it comes to the wrestling world there. But I can't see it. He would have to completely blow people away. So unfortunately, I say it's absurd that he'll make the team, but it's approved, stamp of approval that he's given it a try. Why not, Voldy? What do you think?
I mean, the talent is there. It's completely raw. So this is going to be a work in progress. Everybody thought, Brock Lesnar coming in, he's just going to dominate everybody. Yes, you can be a freak athlete, but being an athlete in the NFL is a completely different story. Line up Gablestevenson right next to Trent Silverback Williams. Trent Williams is going to throw him around like a 2-year-old in a bouncy house at a kid's birthday party. He is going to take that kid to school. And Trent Williams is 75 years old in NFL years. He is an old man playing in the NFL, and it's still a very high level. Yes, he does have the stature. The numbers are there, 6'1", 275. They're going to be working him on the defensive line, which is a little bit undersized, if you will, on the defensive line. Kind of borderline right there, but with the athleticism that he does have, it can make up for that. But again, the fact that he didn't play any sort of organized football, an Olympic gold medalist, national wrestling champion, male athlete of the year type stuff. Yeah, that's all good. It's not really going to translate to the NFL. And speaking of his pro wrestling career as well, probably his push, if you will, fell to the wayside by Ye Who Remains, that being Vince McMahon. When he went down, a lot of plans also went down at the same time. And, unfortunately, Gablestevenson was one of them at that time. So that's where that kind of fell to the wayside. I mean, is it possible? Does he make the team? He's going to be a practice squad guy, let's be honest. And I don't know about Gablestevenson in his career. I don't think he's going to be looking to stay in Buffalo as a practice squad guy. He's got things on his list, I would imagine, that could definitely be used elsewhere. I'm surprised by the fact that he's not going to be I'm not 100% sure if this is going to affect him wrestling in in Paris. He won in Tokyo. I don't know if that's going to be affecting anything for him, if he's officially out or he's stepping away. But with him being at training camp, I think that's going to kind of interfere with a couple things, because Paris is weeks away. I think towards the middle of end of August is when that the Summer Olympics get going. That is going to put a little bit of a damper on a few things. Does he make the team out of training camp? I'm going to say no. I think I mean, the fact that he signed a 3-year deal, probably kind of they're investing some time into him, but I don't think it's going to hurt them all that much if he does end up getting cut at some point. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. But we've been proven wrong before. So
Sure.
let's see. Let's just see. See what happens. That's all we want to see. And, being from the University of Minnesota, he's one of us. So we wish him luck. All right. Next one, Volde.
We head to the world of the NHL, where the final 2 teams stand in the way of hoisting Lord Stanley. The Edmonton Oilers out of the Western Conference take on the Florida Panthers of the Eastern Conference. One team will hoist Lord Stanley after winning 4 games of this do-or-die series. The Florida Panthers are in back-to-back Stanley Cup finals and 3rd time in franchise history. The Edmonton Oilers are looking to end a streak for the first time in God knows how long, since I think about 92, 93, since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. They've been close, but they have never been able to get past as well. Looking at the matchups and how the postseason has gone for both these squads, it comes down to a simple question and hopefully a simple answer. Who do you have winning the Stanley Cup?
Voldy, we made our predictions before, like when the playoffs were going, and I believe I had the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that didn't go well, but the Stars were pretty close. And Voldy, what was yours again? Tell me.
Look, I don't want to talk about it, but I'll mention
it.
You were a hell of a lot closer than I was. I said the Bruins and the Colorado Avalanche, with the Bruins winning. But, yeah, I'm not happy about that. So
yeah, again, I'm not saying this to rip you or anything like that, but
it's all good.
It's they did actually, they moved on. Both teams moved on in their respective rounds.
They did.
So it's so tough to tell. But now we look at this Oilers-Panthers matchup. Voldy, I probably already know who you're picking. But, again, this Florida Panthers team is dangerous. They've been in the playoffs for how many straight years now? It's been, they've been very good these past few years. So I think this is going to be a series that is going to come down to 6-7 games or something like that. Because, again, they didn't have much. They had a lot of injuries against the Golden Knights last year, and they didn't really stand a chance from that perspective. But now that they've kind of gotten, that they have healthy guys on their roster right now, Bobrovsky, Barkov, that I think is going to help them. Now, on the other side, you got Connor McDavid, there he is, and Leon Draisaitl. That I think it's going to come down to whether or not the Bobrovsky is going to be on his game, and he has been, as of late, and he usually is. But I don't know. I'm going to go with the Young Bucks in Edmonton, Voldy. I got the Edmonton Oilers in 7. Let's go, Edmonton. Connor McDavid, who, in fact, is not overrated. And they've gotten to the final. They're going to get their Stanley Cup. So, stamp of approval on the Oilers. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I look at some of the tangibles of this series. Goaltending in favor of Florida. You've got scoring in favor of Edmonton. You got coaching well in favor of Florida at the same time. You look at some of the guys who are going to be looking to gain an edge. You got like Evander Kane for Edmonton. You've got Kachuk, you've got Barkov, you've got some of those guys, Verhaeghe as well, guys that are not afraid to put the puck in the back of the net and also come with a little bit of an edge. But for the life of me, for all that is sacred in this world, Edmonton, I want you to put a hurt on the state of Florida. Yeah. I want you to go there, with everything that is Canadian about you, and I want you to absolutely annihilate the Florida Panthers for all that is sacred in this goddamn universe. I hate the Florida Panthers so hard that I will go against anything that is American in this series to see the Florida Panthers end their season in the most harshest of conditions possible. Bobrovsky is an amazing goaltender. Kachuk is a great player. Barkov has been begging to win something. Kyle Oposo is on the team, and I didn't even know he was out of Buffalo, and yet he's got a chance to win a Stanley Cup for the first time in his godforsaken career, even though he should have been dead 9 times over. But I will be taking the Edmonton Oilers in 6 games because of the fact that McJesus himself will come down from his cross of sticks, and he will annihilate the competition. 37 goals in this series to annihilate any record that is left standing. Give me the Edmonton Oilers to end the curse of Canada winning the Stanley Cup. I just have to do that before I literally punch this microphone and this computer and this light and this computer screen. And anything that moves, I will be throwing haymakers at some point, one way or another.
You channeled your inner Zim right there. I enjoyed that very
Thank
much. You. But yeah, I got Edmonton. I think it's time. It's time for Edmonton to win. And your hate for the Panthers is eternal.
Florida in general.
Florida in general.
Tampa Bay, Florida Panthers, debt to them all. Debt to them. 5 straight years they've been in the final. Florida itself. It pisses me off. I hate Florida. I hate Tampa. Come on. Let's go Oilers.
Enough said. So we go from one final to another. Next one, Voldy.
Well, we switch over now to the NBA Finals as it will be pinning in the Western Conference. The Dallas Mavericks, fresh off a nail-biting series, if you will, against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and an onslaught of victory that has been the most treasured franchise in all of the NBA, the Boston Celtics, out of the Eastern Conference. Of course, the Boston Celtics coming once again into the Eastern Conference, out of the finals and into the NBA Finals yet again with the Mavericks. Kind of a little bit of a surprise out of them from this season, but still very competitive, and will be a matchup of former players playing against their former teams for the biggest trophy in the NBA, of course, the Larry O'Brien Trophy. How both these teams got to this point has been a little bit of a whirlwind, up and down, back and forth, but both teams will be set to face off. Looks like starting tomorrow night, it will be game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Yes.
But who do you have winning the NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Mavericks?
Just as you brought that up, who do we got? Zoners, let us know who you got, especially for the Stanley Cup Finals as well. If you got Edmonton, or if you got the Florida Panthers, Voldy might come and find you and burn your house down or something. But just FYI. Yep. But then we want your
Don't think
possible.
I won't. All cards are on the table right now. We're coming in. We're coming in fists of flying.
It's he isn't kidding, by the way.
No, I'm not.
So you look at this matchup, and I might say something really controversial here, and I don't want it to be taken the wrong way. It could be up for absurd statement here.
Okay.
But I think the Wolves would have been a better matchup for the Boston Celtics. It's a little on the upset, because if the Mavs win, then this is up for absurd statement. But listen, for one, there's been a lot of talk about the Celtics. They've gotten to this point, but they haven't been able to finish, right? And they lost to the Heat last year. They almost made the biggest comeback in sports history, or in NBA history, by coming back 3-0, and Jason Tatum gets hurt, unfortunately. So this year they wanted to right that wrong, everything like that, and they've been to this point. They've struggled in the past, but listen, this team looks like they're they're ready to go. You got Jaylen Brown, who's been fantastic these finals. You have Drew Holiday going from the Milwaukee Bucks, and they say they're not trading him. The next day they trade him to the Boston Celtics. Yep. Oh, by the way, they're in the finals right now. So Milwaukee's like, that wasn't smart. Anyway, he's had a really great series. He's averaging these past few games about like 17 points per game. He's been on fire. And Kristaps Porzingis is going to be back in this series as well. So you have that to factor in. The reason why I'm saying that I feel like the Wolves match up better is because you have the two scorers up top. You got to guard the perimeter and, things like that. But I'm telling you right now, if P.J. Washington and Derrick Jones Jr., Tim Hardaway, whoever off the bench and whatnot, even though Washington is a starter, if they can't hit their shots, I think they're sunk. Because then you have to rely on not only Luka, then you have to rely on Kyrie as well. And Kyrie's been playing phenomenal, and Luka's been playing phenomenal. But they do need contributions from their other players. Now, the one thing that I know, and from what we watched in this series with the Timberwolves and the Mavs, is that I swear to God, if that Gaffney guy and the guy from Duke, I can't even remember his name. All they do is take alley-oops and just throw it down. They throw it up. Kyrie and Luka just throw it up to him, and the Wolves just didn't have an answer for it, granted. But I think Boston is going to win this series from the contributions of Tatum, Brown, Holiday, Porzingis, Al Horford. A lot of people are forgetting about Al. He is...
Old man still got it.
Old man.
Get that man a goddamn title. Come on.
So, I got Boston in 5. I think Tatum and the Celtics are going to win. They're going to get... there's going to be another banner with the Celtics. And a lot of people are like, I'm sick of them winning, all these titles and stuff like that.
18, baby. Coming for it.
Again, you're going to see crybaby Luka again. And I don't want... I want to see it now because if they're losing and he's going to cry about it, that's what we like. Voldy, before we get to you, this is pretty funny.
All right.
From Big Nipples on Ice. Hey, much love from a Jazz fan. Wow. Interesting.
Appreciate you.
Interesting name for one, but it's funny.
Big Nip
funny.
in the house.
Yeah, for the Jazz, the Jazz got a good young team too. But I got the Celtics
and new
5.
uniforms too.
They do. So
they did. Pretty nice.
I don't got really any big hate towards the Jazz. I mean, go Wolves, but I got Celtics in 5. Voldy, who do you got?
I look at this because of the fact the amount of players that have really transitioned from trying to be the number one to being more of those set role players. Like we talk about with Drew Holiday coming in the season. Obviously he was a guy that was looked on very heavily in Milwaukee, of course, with Giannis, but now stepping into a role where, yes, he is the point guard. He is helping facilitate, but also at the same time, he's a guy that can provide you minutes on and off the floor too. Peyton Pritchard has been a really nice guy to have since he came into the league. He's been a guy that has stepped in at times when Holiday hasn't been playing all that well. Obviously, you want to have Kristaps Porzingis in the mix. Him coming back from injury hasn't been really a factor this playoffs. If he's going to be healthy enough to go, that's going to be great. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown as well. Al Horford has found the fountain of youth somehow to continue to play these last couple of seasons, even though they fell a couple years ago in the finals. This is certainly a different look team at that same time. With this overall depth of this team, let's not even forget about the fact that Derek White has surged out of nowhere to be a primetime player for the Celtics squad, hitting clutch shots at big times, helping move the ball up and down the floor as well. Has been a really nice piece these last couple of seasons, given the fact that he was completely written off a couple of seasons ago from the point that he has really come back and has really, risen to the challenge. With all that being said, Kyrie Irving coming back to Boston will not be good for the Dallas Mavericks. Previous times he's come in, he stomped on the logo at center court, Lucky the Leprechaun. That does not bode well for many players in the past, and this will be another reason for that to happen. Give me the Celtics in 5 games as well to raise banner number 18, get Al Horford his NBA championship so he can finally retire as a Boston Celtic. Let's go Celtics.
Yep. We're all in agreement. Our friend Big Nips on Ice.
Big Nips.
I love it. Quick question: who do you think was the biggest disappointment in the Mavs versus Wolves series? Don't mean to change the topic. It's all good. That's why we have this chat, is to get your thoughts as well. Basically, I'd probably say Voldy. It's easy to just say Cat because Cat just did not shoot well at all and made some pretty dumb fouls. Nickeil Alexander-Walker couldn't hit. Couldn't hit from the outside. I'm probably just gonna have to go with Cat, unfortunately. But again, he still did have a great playoff series from the Suns to the Nuggets. It's just this one was tough. He played really well in Game 4. He had a couple of big threes, but Cat got cold at the wrong time. So I'd probably say Cat, and I don't say that lightly. You could easily say Gobert, but I feel like he was unfairly treated by, he had to guard Jokic at the end of that game and whatnot. And I mean, yeah, defensive player of the year, but that's down in the post. He's not a perimeter defender, for God's sake. So, yeah, I'd probably say Cat. Voldy, who do you got?
I mean, the easy one also would be going to Gobert, I think. Obviously defensive player of the year, like you had mentioned too, trying to go one-on-one with Luka. You sense that wasn't going to be a favorable matchup. Overall, and I'll go back and say as well, didn't watch a single playoff game this whole season. I mean, they kept winning, so I thought, hey, can't mess with the streak. Followed all the way through to the Western Conference Finals, then finally Ruck ran out in that case. I would probably say go along with Gobert on that too.
Okay. I mean, there's definitely argument for both, and I think it's either or. So next one, Volde.
Well, we stay in the world of the NBA, where the Los Angeles Lakers are very close to inking a deal with former 15-year NBA sharpshooter jjredick to become their next head coach, as multiple sources have been looking into a leading candidate for the position, of course, with the replacement of Darvin Ham as coach for the Lakers. jjredick has been one of those guys that has certainly voiced his opinion in multiple arenas, whether it be his podcast, whether it be on ESPN or other platforms as well. He was interviewed for head coaching positions previously, but none of them ever went to fruition. But with jjredick being a front runner and quite possibly even finalizing that position here in the coming days, is it absurd to approve? Would jjredick be a perfect fit for the Lakers, serving as head coach?
I don't know if I'd go past the point or go to perfect. I would say a good fit. And the reason why I say that is because he hasn't coached in the league really yet. And granted, yes, I know players, you have Jason Kidd, coaching the Mavs in the finals, and obviously he was a player in the finals. But I don't have a issue with them going with him. And, Steve Nash, that didn't really work out.
Nope.
You look at some of these guys, and it's like history hasn't been good to some of these guys. But for Jason Kidd, it's worked out. Obviously, getting the Mavs to the finals and whatnot. But I just think there's a lot of question marks on, okay, is he going to be able to adapt for the Lakers and being with LeBron, and if they're going to keep LeBron and all that stuff. I think it'd be a good fit, and I think it's just going to take time before he's able to kind of get a hold on what we're looking at, and if he's really got it. Who's going to be his coaching staff is another thing too. So I know the Lakers were looking at somebody else. I got an update. I think they interviewed Micah Nori, and they liked what they heard from Micah, but it seems to me that Redick is. I think Redick will be good. Now, a lot of people are kind of down on him. I think Colin Cowherd was really ripping him because how can you trust a guy that wears his hat backwards or something like that? It's just silly. But it's a little absurd. I wouldn't say perfect. I would say it's a good fit. He can relate to a lot of these players and whatnot. And I think that'll be to his advantage. Now you just got to prove it and show if the Lakers are going to be, going to be okay. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I see what he has to offer as a guy that's really analyzed the game in the time that has passed since his career ended. It's only been 3 years since he retired. Feels like it's been a lot longer than that, and yet it doesn't at the same time. But then you look at how some of the other former players transitioning into head coach have really turned out. Steve Nash went a decade before he went into coaching. He was named head coach of the Brooklyn Nets like that. He didn't even get an assistant coaching job, let alone any sort of, coaching role. Then you get guys like Derek Fisher, who is a head coach as well, without even being an assistant. Obviously, one of the guys that's fighting for an NBA title is, you've got Jason Kidd leading the Mavs right now. He went from playing into coaching at multiple stops along the way. He was in Milwaukee, I believe. Was he in Brooklyn? I can't remember. I know he played for the Nets for all those years, but certainly a guy that has really fought his way, obviously, through the league and now serving as a head coach and very close to becoming an NBA champion as a coach at the same time. I could see it as being a guy that really doesn't mess around all that much. He doesn't really mince words, and given the league that it currently stands right now, there's going to have to be a little bit of hand holding. There's going to have to be some tough love, but then that's where you lean on those veteran players that really step up and, try to get on some of these younger guys to step up. It's all really about managing egos, and can JJRedick manage egos is really one of the things that I would look at. Forget about the basketball side. We know he can play. He spent 15 years in the NBA. That should speak for itself as well. If you can do the right things, whether it be defense, come off the bench, put up 15 points on, 5 of 6 from 3, that's going to keep in the league for 15 years. Tell me what you can do, off the court. Can you manage egos? Can you handle, players bickering at practice? Can you facilitate a practice? All the other stuff. That's what I want to know. That's what Jeannie Buss and, Rob Pelinka need to be ironing out with JJ and any other sort of, whoever they're going to be interviewing as head coach. If and when it does come to fruition that JJRedick is head coach for the NBA, for the LA Lakers, I feel like that'll be a win. Is that going to bring LeBron back for another season? I don't know. But it'll certainly entice a few more players, maybe some free agents at the same time, to maybe explore their options a little bit more. Is it going to be a perfect fit? No, but I think it's going to be a good enough fit to hopefully bring more for that franchise in the coming years. If they invest into Rob, they invest into JJRedick or whoever as well as head coach, that's going to be the ultimate proving ground for them to at least get back into contention and into the conversation of fighting for an NBA title.
That's the main thing. Big Nips says,
Big Nip.
So bittersweet. I despise the Lakers, but I love Redick, and he's got to take off. He or she, I don't know if it's he, she, who knows.
They, them.
Hey guys, I got to take off, but I'll tune in the next one. Please do. We love it.
Shout out Big Nips.
It's so funny. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, the world of the WNBA, if it hasn't been already turned upside down, let's turn it over one more time with recent actions taking place on the court. This past Saturday, an incident between the Chicago Sky's Kennedy Carter, and of course, Indiana Fever guard and number 1 overall pick, Caitlinclark, as it was a physical play that led to the potential of a change of foul that took place beyond the play, a non-basketball foul that did take place as well. But this is just another situation that has risen in coming days, in coming weeks, since the debut of Caitlinclark on a WNBA court, that now starting to build up to a point where maybe the welcome to the WNBA saying has really ran out its luster, if you will. A lot of people coming into the situation and into the season, growth of the game with Caitlinclark coming into the league, now chartered flights, all this, a lot more eyes on the league. Now maybe boiling over to the point where players that have been in the league for a number of years and thinking, hey, we've been here all this time. Why don't we get the recognition that we've been building over the last few years or since they've come into the league? And now they're trying to take out the top dog, if you will, or at least the prized possession of the league in Caitlinclark. Now, looking at I'm sure you've probably seen the video 500 times like I have in the last 20 minutes of the show that has been running on in the background. But with the play and everything leading up to it from end of the Final Four, national championship, getting drafted, start of the season, preseason, start of the season to now, is it absurd or approved? With the foul that did take place against Caitlinclark, is this just another instance of physical play? Welcome to the league. Or instead, are these all just now coming to fruition of actual attacks against Caitlinclark herself?
I think it's just pure jealousy, for one, from Kennedy Carter with that. I think that's a factor, but are these players out to get her? I mean, they want to try and stop her, and they're trying to get in her head. But what Carter did was absolutely bullshit. I'm saying that was Bush League, and what happened beforehand, it doesn't matter. What was Caitlin talking crap to you, or what's going on? But that was not it again. Hey, heat of the moment. But then she says, "Hey, bitch," and then nails her. That just tells me that that's bullshit. I'm sorry, but it's just she said in this too. She's like, people don't know me as a player. You can't go by one little clip. Okay, but that one little clip is showing that you're not the type of player that you think you are, and you think that I was just trying to send a message, trying to show that it's a physical game. Yeah, it is a physical game, and the thing is Caitlinclark's been doing this for a long time, even with college and whatnot. So again, I think it's pretty much trying to find ways to stop her. And again, the Fever are not a good team, unfortunately. But when you have Caitlinclark, she brings the eyes to the WNBA, and people are watching, and people are loving what she does for the sport. I think this is an attack. I think it's an attack on Caitlinclark. That specifically, that play. Now the other stuff, and I heard the Angel Reese thing and whatnot. I've got an opinion on that, but we can save that for another instance. But I will say, Voldy, that I think this is attack on Caitlinclark from that point with Carter. But before that, I think there were some issues on like fouling and stuff like that. But hey, you're up to the professional level now, and Caitlinclark, I think, knows that. But what she has done for the game of basketball is extraordinary. So, I think it was what Carter did was Bush League, and that's just kind of my thoughts. But I think it's a tax on Clark. So stamp approval on that one. Voldy, what do you got?
I look at the situation specifically with Kennedy Carter. I don't want to, obviously put labels on people or anything, but very Draymond Green-esque with her actions, because even in looking at the track record, drafted in 2020, number 4 overall pick, but got suspended in her second season with Atlanta due to conduct detrimental to the team, and got traded to Los Angeles the following season, 2022, or I should say she got traded in 2022 to the LA Sparks, where she also got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. So there's a few things going on there with Kennedy Carter that aren't exactly copacetic. Now, she was waived by the Sparks before the end of this past season, didn't play in 2023, now back in the league and falling back into her own ways, that physical play. Now, I could see where there has been, I don't want to throw out the word jealousy, because of the fact they're professional athletes. They're all doing the best that they can. It's women's professional sports. It's on the rise right now. I don't want to say that they're millionaires, but they're certainly doing the best that they can with the funds and the difference in pay from men's professional athletes to women's professional athletes. Again, it's a whole different song and dance I don't want to get into right now. But you would think, I certainly feel at this point, yes, all the eyes are on Caitlin Clark. What's happening with the change in the league I want to say even the last 4 or 5 years, with the introductions, obviously, Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart. You go back to the days, obviously, with Rebecca Lobo. You throw in, obviously, Lindsay Whalen. You put in, come on now, Taurasi, Sue Bird. Those goats of the WNBA and in basketball as well. You put them into the mix, and how that game has really strengthened over the years to direct a lot more attention to it. Everybody, I would imagine, you ask them honestly, without a microphone, without a camera, one-on-one person, they do not want to answer a single more question about Caitlin Clark, or they will probably do physical harm not only to themselves but to you at the same time. I would certainly be in that instance. I'm not Caitlin Clark. Stop asking me questions about Caitlin Clark. Now, on the other side with Angel Reese, you won a national championship against her. You won. Move on already. I'm sick and tired of Angel Reese basically sending out her flunkies and her teammates to go out and beat the crap out of her. You won a national championship. You created a meme and a gif against Caitlin Clark. You won. Shut up and move on already. I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. And at the same time, I feel bad for Caitlin Clark. I feel for her best sake, mentally, physically, emotionally, she needs like 2 weeks. No basketball, no interviews, nothing. Just go home, lock the doors, close the blinds, sleep. The girl looks tired. She is exhausted from the fact she went from national championship, WNBA draft, preseason, regular season, in like the span of 6 to 8 weeks. That was a whirlwind of emotions and change that has taken place. She needs a break, I feel. And the fact the league is ganging up on her and beating her up, in a weaker position, as a weaker person as myself, I would probably give up on basketball after this season. It's just physically taxing, tiring, and it's probably a good thing I'm not a professional athlete. I would have quit 20 times over after the first altercation. But good on her to still go out there and get after it. But look, I feel the league is ganging up on her, whether it be directly or indirectly. Somebody's going to have to step in sooner or later and be like, enough. Like, you can't protect one player against an entire league, but like, you got to keep closer eyes on things, because one more of these instances, a misstep, a push for the back, and next thing you know, she hits her head on one of the basketball stanchions, rolls an ankle, muscle pull, ligament torn. The league is back where it was 10 years ago, fighting for a pure existence altogether. And those chartered flights might be going away quicker than they came in at the same point. So I think the WNBA has to do a better job of keeping tabs and, putting the hammer down on some of these shenanigans going on.
It is what it is. And again, we'll probably get on the topic of Angel Reese again because I've definitely got some thoughts too. But we'll save that for another time.
She won. Move on.
Yeah,
Knock it off, Angel Reese.
I'm with you. 100%.
Anybody that should be pissed off, it's Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink got shafted in all of this.
Yeah,
He's a great player.
But again, a lot of eyes are on the WNBA. I know my younger sister, who has been following very closely, loves Caitlinclark, and it's good for the game and whatnot. So I'm sure we'll be talking about it soon again. So with that being said, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. And it's time to do some Shield shout-outs. We got some retirements. Unfortunately, a legend passing away. But it's time for some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
So we are sending a unfortunate rest in peace to NFL and Pro Football Hall of Famer and former Cowboys and 49ers offensive lineman, a stalwart in the 1990s, blocking for the likes of Emmitt Smith for the Cowboys and also a former Super Bowl champion. Larry Allen did pass away this week as well for Cowboys fans, of course, most notably in his time in the silver and blue, blocking for, of course, the NFL rushing all-time leader, that being Emmitt Smith in his career, but did play some time in San Francisco where he did win a Super Bowl in his own credit with the Cowboys and the Niners as well. Sadly did pass away this past week in Larry Allen. And of course, with the Edmonton Oilers defeating the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Finals of the Stanley Cup playoffs, that means that the career for former Sharks and Stars for Joe Pavelski, a former Des Moines, I should say Waterloo Blackhawk, and also, no, he was a Des Moines Buccaneer, excuse me, a former Des Moines Buccaneer, and also former Wisconsin Badger, that being Joe Pavelski, will retire after 18 seasons in the NHL. A career filled with many highlights and unfortunately never able to lift a Stanley Cup as a player in his own right, but came close a few times. Came close to the San Jose Sharks and also with, of course, the Dallas Stars in his own right. But Joe Pavelski ends his career with the Dallas Stars after his career did get started with the likes of the San Jose Sharks. And that will do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's surprising. I thought he definitely won at least one, but I guess, yeah, you're right, because the Sharks haven't won one in a while, and obviously came close with the Stars. And, yeah, RIP to Larry Allen. I mean, legend, absolute legend in the NFL. So, great job with Shield shoutouts this week, Voldy, as always.
Thanks, sir.
And you guys know the deal, the dealy deal. We've got merch. We've got plenty of merch. We got the sweatpants. We got the shirts. We got the stickers. We got the hats. We got it for you, especially this bad boy, this hat, the camel hat. And the 4th of July is coming up. We do have the American flag hats for you as well. So make sure you get that going at some point because, it's getting hot out there and the sun's going to be beating down. Why not a MinneZona hat? Make sure you check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel, at www.w2performance.com. He's got all the new stuff, everything going on with him. Shout out to National Fleet Graphic, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And make sure you check out the Victorious P.O.D, Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers, our guys. Make sure you check that out as well. TLS Performance, our guy Troy Stoudemire Jr., he's got stuff posting all the time. And another group of guys, awesome dudes. Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, Ryan Myberg, the Rhino, baby. Omni Entertainment, they'll keep you up to date on the latest movies and other things like that. So make sure you check those guys out. And Voldy, before we hop off here for this awesome Wednesday, 200, it's coming up. It's getting close. So we have some plans We've got definitely some plans, and we'll keep you up to date. But next week, we will be off. I will be out this next week. But we will be back. I know. But hey, we will be back better than ever. And we're getting you that 200, and we've got some plans in the works. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, our socials medias. And as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.